Amadeus wasn't just a film about Mozart's brilliance. It was about the chaos behind creation. Every candle, costume, and rivalry was real, fueled by risk and obsession. From jealous co-stars to dangerous sets, the road to genius nearly burned itself down. The cast endured suffocating heat, last-minute disasters, and tension so thick it bled into every scene. Here are the secrets hidden for decades about how this masterpiece turned madness into art. But first, let's talk about the rivalry that made it all feel so terrifyingly real. Number 1. Rivalry that bled on set. The tension between genius and envy wasn't just acting. Murray Abraham felt genuinely overshadowed when Tom Hulce bonded closely with Meg Tilly during production. That real-life jealousy mirrored Salieri's bitterness toward Mozart in ways no script could manufacture. The crew noticed it immediately. Abraham's isolation wasn't manufactured for the camera. It was palpable, vibrating through every scene they shared. That authentic resentment fueled performances so raw that even behind-the-scenes observers could feel the friction. What made Amadeus so devastatingly real was that the actors weren't just pretending to feel envy and admiration. They were living it. That off-camera rivalry gave Salieri's tortured soul a depth that turned a period drama into something visceral and unforgettable. Number 2. Recasting at the 11th hour. Disaster struck just days before filming began. Meg Tilly suffered a sudden leg injury that made her unable to perform. The production faced a crisis with no time for traditional casting processes or extensive screen tests. Elizabeth Berridge was chosen overnight with no costume fittings and minimal preparation. She stepped into the role of Constanze with barely any rehearsal time. Her nervous energy and spontaneous approach weren't calculated choices, but genuine reactions to being thrust into a major film. That accidental casting became one of the film's greatest strengths. Berridge's fragile warmth and unpolished authenticity gave Constanze exactly what the character needed. What seemed like a catastrophe turned into a blessing, proving that the best performances can emerge from chaos rather than careful planning. Number 3. The silent director's trick. Director Milos Forman had an unusual method that kept actors perpetually off balance. He would often skip saying action or cut during takes, letting scenes evolve naturally without clear boundaries. Actors never quite knew when they were being filmed and when they weren't. This technique forced the cast to stay in character constantly, never relaxing into the safety of knowing a scene had ended. The camera captured genuine reactions because performers forgot they were being watched. Shock, confusion, and spontaneous emotions couldn't be faked when no one announced the performance had begun. The result was a film filled with moments of startling authenticity. Forman's silent direction stripped away the artifice of traditional filmmaking. What audiences saw on screen wasn't polished acting, but real human reactions caught in their most vulnerable, unguarded state. Number 4. The chilling one-line audition. Most actors audition with lengthy monologues or complex scenes. Murray Abraham's entire audition consisted of a single devastating line: "Mediocrity's everywhere, I absolve you." That one sentence was all Forman needed to hear. The haunting delivery captured everything Salieri represented in one breath. Abraham conveyed wounded pride, divine envy, and bitter resignation simultaneously. Forman made his decision instantly, recognizing that this actor understood the character's soul without needing pages of dialogue. That moment became the foundation of one of cinema's greatest performances. A single line revealed an actor who could carry an entire film on the weight of his resentment. Abraham's audition proved that sometimes genius doesn't need explanation. It simply needs to be witnessed. Number 5. Opera houses lit by fire. For absolute authenticity, Forman made a dangerous choice. He used hundreds of real candles to light Prague's historic Estates Theater, the same venue where Mozart's Don Giovanni premiered. Modern lighting would have been safer, but it wouldn't have captured the period's atmosphere. The heat was suffocating for everyone on set. Actors performed in heavy costumes under layers of open flame. One spark could have destroyed the historic theater and endangered everyone inside. The crew worked with constant awareness that they were balancing artistic perfection against genuine danger. That risk paid off in every frame. The scenes possess an eerie, golden glow that no electric lighting could replicate. The flickering shadows and warm radiance transport viewers directly into the 18th century. Beauty required sacrifice, and Forman was willing to risk everything for a vision that would burn itself into cinematic history. Number 6. Too famous to be Mozart. Casting Mozart required finding someone, audiences could see as a musical genius rather than a familiar face. Mark Hamill had played Mozart on Broadway with critical acclaim, making him an obvious choice. Yet, Forman rejected him without hesitation. The problem wasn't talent, but recognition. Audiences would see Luke Skywalker in a powdered wig, not the impulsive genius of Vienna. Forman understood that sometimes an actor's previous success becomes their greatest obstacle. No matter how brilliantly Hamill might have performed, his iconic role would have shattered the film's illusion. It remains one of the rare cases where being too famous cost an actor a defining role. Hamill's Broadway Mozart never translated to screen immortality. Instead, Tom Hulce became the face of musical genius for generations. The decision proved that in cinema, anonymity can be more valuable than fame. Number 7. When Rock Met Rococo. Forman gave conductor Neville Marriner an unconventional instruction that changed everything. He wanted Mozart's classical compositions treated like rock music, played wild and loud with modern intensity. Editors then timed scenes to crescendos like drum beats, creating an unexpected rhythm. The approach transformed a classical biopic into something that pulsed with contemporary energy. Action sequences moved to musical peaks, dramatic moments swelled with symphonic power. Mozart's compositions became the film's heartbeat, driving the narrative forward with relentless momentum. The result was unlike any period film audiences had seen before. Amadeus captured the rebellious spirit of Mozart's era by treating his music the way it was originally received, as shocking, energetic, and dangerously modern. Classical music became rock and roll, proving that genius transcends time and genre. Number 8. The Whiskey-Forged Laugh. Mozart's manic laugh became one of cinema's most recognizable sounds, but creating it nearly destroyed Tom Hulce's voice. The unhinged giggle required take after take, straining his vocal cords to their limits. During post-production, they discovered the laugh needed even more work. Whiskey became the unexpected solution. It loosened Hulce's throat and lowered his inhibitions, allowing him to access a childlike madness he couldn't reach while sober. The result was that distinctive cackle that sounds simultaneously joyful and unhinged, innocent and disturbing. That laugh defines Mozart's character more than any dialogue could. It captures his brilliance and immaturity in a single sound. What started as a technical challenge became the character's signature, proving that the best creative choices often emerge from unexpected solutions and a bit of liquid courage. Number 9. Costumes that crush cast. Period authenticity came at a painful price for everyone involved. Each costume consisted of layered silk, velvet, and lace that trapped heat mercilessly under stage lights. The elaborate outfits weren't just uncomfortable, they were borderline torturous during long shooting days. Extras fainted regularly from heat exhaustion. Wigs caused constant itching and headaches. Tom Hulce compared wearing the costumes to being roasted alive in velvet. Yet the discomfort served the film's vision, making every movement and gesture feel weighted with historical reality. The suffering wasn't in vain. Those crushing costumes gave Amadeus its royal realism, making the 18th century feel tangible rather than theatrical. Audiences never questioned the authenticity because every actor moved like they were genuinely imprisoned in the period clothing. Beauty requires sacrifice, and this cast has paid the price in sweat and discomfort. Number 10. Deathbed Duet Mapped Like Math. The Requiem dictation scene required precision that went beyond traditional scripting. While the dialogue existed, Tom Hulce intentionally skipped lines and changed rhythms to throw Murray Abraham off balance. The goal was to spark genuine irritation and confusion. Abraham's reactions weren't acting, but authentic frustration at his scene partner's unpredictability. Meanwhile, editors timed every moment down to individual musical bars, ensuring the improvisation synchronized perfectly with Mozart's composition. Chaos and control merged into something extraordinary. The result is one of cinema's most intense collaborations between rivals. What appears spontaneous was actually mathematical precision, meeting deliberate disruption. That combination of preparation and improvisation turned a simple dictation scene into a masterclass of acting, proving that the best performances exist at the intersection of structure and chaos. Number 11. The real mask behind the myth. The masked figure haunting Mozart became one of cinema's most unforgettable images. Yet the truth behind the patron was stranger than the film suggested. The mysterious commissioner wasn't Salieri at all, but Count Franz von Walsegg, a wealthy nobleman with an unusual hobby. Walsegg secretly purchased compositions from struggling musicians and then claimed them as his own creations. He commissioned Mozart's Requiem, intending to pass it off as his own work at his wife's memorial service. This odd historical quirk gave Forman the foundation for one of his most powerful narrative devices. The film transformed a footnote of musical history into legend. By shifting the masked patron's identity to serve the story's themes of envy and mortality, Forman created something more emotionally resonant than fact alone. The truth was peculiar, but the lie became immortal, proving that cinema's power lies in meaning rather than accuracy. Number 12. Olivier's Oscars Oops. The 1985 Academy Awards ceremony featured a moment of panic that perfectly captured the film's chaotic spirit. Laurence Olivier opened the Best Picture envelope and immediately announced Amadeus, completely forgetting to read the other nominees first. The audience sat in confused silence for several seconds. A brief wave of uncertainty swept through the theater before someone realized what had happened. Then the crowd erupted in applause, turning the mistake into a dramatic flourish. Olivier's error seemed almost scripted, as if the ceremony itself was paying tribute to the film's themes. The unintentional drama proved fitting for a movie about chaos and brilliance colliding. Even winning the highest honor in filmmaking came with confusion and spontaneity. Amadeus conquered the Oscars the same way it conquered audiences, by turning imperfection into something memorable and utterly human. Number 13. Full operas, not movie snips. Most films fake opera performances with brief fragments and cutaway shots. Forman refused to take shortcuts. Instead, he staged complete operas before hundreds of live extras, capturing genuine theatrical experiences rather than manufactured movie moments. The audience reactions weren't acting, but authentic responses to witnessing full performances. When extras gasped or applauded, they were reacting to real artistry unfolding before them. Mozart's music filled genuine 18th century halls with sound and smoke, creating an atmosphere no amount of editing could fabricate. What audiences see on screen is truth caught on camera. The awe, the boredom, the delight in those crowd scenes reflects actual human responses to live opera. This commitment to authenticity gave Amadeus an emotional reality that transcends typical period filmmaking, making viewers feel like witnesses to history rather than spectators of a recreation. Number 14. Cynthia Nixon's Double Life. Playing a small role required extraordinary dedication from one young actress. At only 17 years old, Cynthia Nixon was simultaneously filming Amadeus in Europe, performing in a stage production in New York, and attending high school classes. Her schedule would have exhausted most adults. She would fly overnight across the Atlantic, shoot her scenes in a matter of hours, and immediately leave again. The exhaustion was real, the commitment absolute. There was no time for rest or adjustment, only constant motion between three demanding worlds. Her youthful intensity mirrored Mozart's own relentless energy and ambition. Nixon's dedication to balancing education, theater, and film at such a young age foreshadowed the remarkable career that lay ahead. Even in a minor role, she demonstrated the work ethic that would eventually make her one of her generation's most respected performers. Number 15. Piano Hands, Zero Cheats. Tom Hulce's commitment to authenticity extended to his fingertips. He practiced piano for months until every note he played matched the pre-recorded soundtrack with absolute precision. This wasn't close enough acting, but genuine musical performance captured on film. Music professors later studied his hand movements frame by frame and confirmed an astonishing fact. Not a single finger placement was incorrect. Every chord, every trill, every delicate touch corresponded exactly to the music audiences heard. What appeared effortless required countless hours of disciplined practice. The result is a performance where sight and sound merge seamlessly. Audiences never question whether Mozart is really playing because Hulce actually was playing. That dedication to craft elevated the entire film, proving that genuine skill registers on camera in ways that fakery never can. The trembling fingers belong to both the actor and the character equally. Number 16. Shot in Prague under watch. Filming in communist Czechoslovakia meant working under constant surveillance. Government officials monitored the production closely, their presence felt throughout every shooting day. For director Milos Forman, who had fled the oppressive regime years earlier, returning meant confronting painful memories. Making the movie became an emotional test that went far beyond typical filmmaking challenges. Forman was creating art in the same place that had driven him into exile. Every decision carried weight beyond aesthetics. every scene filmed under the watchful eyes of the state he'd escaped. The tension added an unspoken layer to the production, creating a film about artistic genius suppressed by mediocrity while working under political oppression gave Amadeus additional resonance. Forman's personal struggle with authority mirrored Mozart's battles with the establishment, making the director's vision intensely autobiographical in ways audiences never fully realized. The tension added an unspoken layer to the production, creating a film about artistic genius suppressed by mediocrity while working under political oppression gave Amadeus additional resonance. Forman's personal struggle with authority mirrored Mozart's battles with the establishment, making the director's vision intensely autobiographical in ways audiences never fully realized. Number 17. Makeup that aged a soul. Legendary makeup artist Dick Smith faced an extraordinary challenge transforming Murray Abraham into the elderly Salieri. Using thin prosthetics and meticulously painted wrinkles, Smith created aging effects that looked hauntingly organic rather than theatrical. The transformation went beyond physical appearance to capture spiritual decay. Abraham's face became a roadmap of bitterness and regret. Every line suggested decades of envy festering beneath the surface. Smith's work redefined what Hollywood aging effects could achieve. The Academy recognized the achievement with an Oscar that cemented Smith's legendary status. His techniques influenced makeup artists for decades, proving that prosthetics could reveal character rather than simply hide actors. The elderly Salieri became as iconic as the young Mozart, and Smith's artistry made both feel equally real and heartbreaking. Number 18. Design that built an era. Production designer Patricia von Brandenstein didn't just decorate sets. She filled real palaces with authentic antiques, transforming historical locations into living, breathing spaces. Every object, every fabric, every piece of furniture belonged to the period, creating environments that felt tangible rather than staged. Her historically perfect world earned her an Academy Award and set new standards for period filmmaking. The 18th century didn't look like a movie set, but like an actual world that existed beyond the camera's frame. This commitment to authenticity made Amadeus feel timeless rather than dated. Audiences could lose themselves completely in the world von Brandenstein created, because every detail supported the illusion. Her work proved that production design isn't just background decoration, but the foundation upon which all other elements build their believability. Number 19. Prague as the 18th century Vienna. Instead of constructing elaborate studio sets, the production team chose real Czech locations that had survived centuries unchanged. Streets, churches, and opera houses untouched by modern development became Vienna without requiring extensive modification. History itself played a supporting role. These authentic spaces gave the film a realism no Hollywood backlot could replicate. The stones were genuinely old, the architecture historically accurate, the atmosphere thick with accumulated time. The decision to shoot on location transformed limitations into strengths. What might have seemed like a budgetary constraint became Amadeus's greatest visual asset. Prague's preservation of its 18th century architecture allowed the film to achieve authenticity that money alone couldn't buy, proving that sometimes the best special effect is simply pointing the camera at reality. Number 20. Sold like a rock show. The marketing campaign broke every rule for period dramas. Instead of emphasizing costumes and classical prestige, trailers sold Amadeus like a music event, with explosive energy and bold visuals. MTV spots treated Mozart like a rebellious pop icon, rather than a dusty historical figure. Bold taglines positioned the film as dangerous and exciting, rather than educational or stuffy. The campaign targeted young audiences who typically avoided classical music and historical dramas. Marketing genius transformed Mozart from an obligation into an experience people genuinely wanted to witness. The strategy worked brilliantly, pulling in demographics that costume dramas rarely reached. Teenagers who'd never attended an opera packed theaters to see Amadeus. The film proved that presentation matters as much as content, and that even the most classical subject matter can find massive audiences when positioned with modern sensibility and fearless confidence. Number 21. A Czech film that outsmarted Hollywood. Budget constraints forced creative solutions that became the film's secret weapon. Using mostly local Czech crew members and shooting in real historical architecture, Forman created a film that looked like a lavish epic on a fraction of typical Hollywood spending. Authenticity became efficiency in the most unexpected way. The production avoided expensive set construction because Prague's preserved buildings required minimal modification. Local craftspeople understood period details instinctively, bringing skills passed down through generations. Amadeus proved that limitations inspire innovation when approached with intelligence and vision. The film outsmarted Hollywood by embracing what it had rather than mourning what it lacked. That resourcefulness made it look rich and timeless, demonstrating that authenticity and artistry matter more than endless money. Number 22. Mozart's music became a 1980s hit. The soundtrack achieved something unprecedented in popular music. It sold over 6.5 million copies, topping charts alongside Madonna and Prince. For months, Mozart's symphonies outsold rock albums, introducing classical music to millions who'd never considered listening before. Radio stations that typically played only contemporary hits added Mozart to their rotations. Record stores struggled to keep the soundtrack in stock as demand exceeded all expectations. A composer who'd been dead for nearly 2 centuries suddenly competed with living pop stars and won. The phenomenon proved that genius never goes out of style when presented with passion and accessibility. Amadeus didn't just revive interest in classical music, it made Mozart cool again. The film's success showed that audiences crave brilliance regardless of era, and that the right presentation can make any art form feel urgent and contemporary. Number 23. The movie that saved Salieri. Amadeus accidentally redeemed the man it portrayed as a villain. Historians and musicians revisited Antonio Salieri's forgotten compositions, discovering works of genuine beauty and craftsmanship. Opera houses across Europe revived his pieces, giving them performances they hadn't received in generations. The film's portrayal, though historically inaccurate regarding his rivalry with Mozart, sparked curiosity about the real composer. Scholars published new research, recordings of his music became available. The man once mocked as mediocre finally earned posthumous respect and recognition. Salieri's resurrection proved that even negative portrayals can generate positive outcomes when they inspire genuine curiosity. The movie that condemned him in fiction rehabilitated him in reality. His works now stand as testament that talent exists in many forms, and that history's footnotes deserve re-examination when we're willing to listen. Number 24. Director's Cut, Darker by Design. The 2002 Director's Cut restored 20 minutes of footage that transformed the film's emotional landscape. The most significant addition was a pivotal scene between Constanze and Salieri that added layers of moral ambiguity and desperate compromise. The new footage deepened character motivations and complicated the simple narrative of genius versus mediocrity. Constanze's desperation became more apparent, Salieri's manipulation more calculated. Small moments added weight that shifted the entire story's balance. The restoration revealed how editing choices reshape entire narratives. Those 20 minutes proved that great films contain multiple versions within themselves, each with different emotional emphasis. The director's cut didn't fix Amadeus, but enriched it, showing that even masterpieces can evolve and deepen when given room to breathe and explore darker possibilities. Number 25. The deleted ending no one saw. Early cuts of the film ended with profound intimacy rather than bitter irony. The original finale showed Constanze closing Mozart's piano lid in silence, a tender and tearful farewell to her husband's genius. It was quiet, personal, and heartbreaking in its simplicity. The studio replaced it with Salieri's asylum monologue, shifting the emotional focus from grief to bitter reflection. The new ending traded intimacy for irony, making the film about envy's eternal nature rather than love's quiet loss. One ending honored Mozart, the other belonged to Salieri. That lost moment remains one of cinema's great mysteries and what-ifs. The deleted scene exists somewhere in archives, representing a completely different emotional conclusion. It reminds us that finished films are choices, not inevitabilities, and that every story contains multiple possible endings waiting to be chosen or abandoned. Behind every note of Amadeus was obsession, real and painful and brilliant. Rivalries drove truth, mistakes became miracles, and every flicker of candlelight burned with danger. In chasing perfection, the filmmakers created something even greater: immortality. Amadeus proved that the greatest art emerges from struggle, and that the most powerful performances come from real emotions, bleeding through fictional characters. If you discovered something new about this masterpiece, hit that like button and subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories. Which secret amazed you most? The flames that threatened historic theaters? The real rivalry that fueled performances? or the lost ending no one saw? Tell us in the comments. We love to hear your thoughts, and see you again in the next video.